My name is Mikhail Golichenko. I'm senior policy analyst working for the Canadian HIV/AIDS Legal Network, the organization which is advocating for human rights of people living with or vulnerable to HIV/AIDS. The main goal for me, my organization, and those people for whom we are working is to bring those high international human rights standards down to the national level. The country has a great constitution. The country has signed and ratified all international treaties. The problem is that all those great documents and standards are not implemented on the national level. Our aim is to try to litigate and advocate and promote human rights in order to make them operational and serve for people who live or vulnerable to HIV/AIDS. In countries of former USSR, I think one of the advantages is that it is still possible for people to litigate by themselves with little technical support, but not necessarily having a legal representative in the court. Like it is the case in some countries, especially in the common law countries. You actually have to be represented by a professional lawyer. So in former USSR country, you actually can go to the court by yourself. The successes we achieved so far would include the fact that the discourse on drug policy has been changed for the last couple of years in Russia, as well as in other former USSR countries, like for instance in Ukraine, partly even in the countries of Central Asia, like Kazakhstan. And this discourse is now driven, at least partially, by human rights rather than just by evidence. Evidence are very important, and scientific information is very important for changes in drug policy, but sometimes, and especially in countries which have a lack of experience with human rights, evidence just don't work. So you have to change the discourse into the new area and introduce human rights into the discussion. We must engage more people from civil society, especially from community affected by HIV, into litigation, into claiming their human rights. We don't have to just train them on know their rights, but we also have to show them how to practically defend their rights, how to go to court and claim their rights, and actually force the state to start understanding that people who live with HIV or vulnerable to HIV have right, can claim their right, have dignity, and have all the ability to be a useful part of the society. The role of professional lawyers is to provide the technical support, but encourage people to go to the court by themselves and claim their rights. Of course, some of the claims would be unheard, some of the claims would not be successful, but there should be an avalanche of such claims. We should beat the government's indifference with numbers, and we should actually show that key populations, key communities are able to defend their rights. HIV advocates should first be very consistent and should not be susceptible to trading human rights into some easy to pick up benefits, different performance indicators, sometimes some different numbers which partially donors push advocates for. They shouldn't be trading for human rights. So the message from human rights advocates should be very consistent. We should never compromise human rights. Human rights is something which should be in all messages when we talk to government, and ultimately government should actually understand that, well, whatever we do, whatever we talk about, we have to observe human rights, we have to respect people for whom we think to provide services for, and we have to recognize their dignity.